Conservation Foundation. Thanks for joining us for another Facebook Live event this Thursday morning. Today we are here at the Gramercy Park in East Dubuque, Illinois. Today we're going to learn about the Dunleith mounds in the park. And with us today we have Rick Wilkie, the treasurer of the Gramercy Park Foundation.
Right, just to say my name is Rick Wilkie. I'm the treasurer of the Gramercy Park Foundation. And I wanted to thank the Woodlands Conservation Foundation for picking up Gramercy Park and doing a broadcast today.
Great. So, can you start us off by giving us a little bit of information about the indigenous peoples who live here at the Woodlands?
They're commonly called Little Woodland Indians, otherwise known as the local Indians. They inhabited this area from about 100 BC, 300 AD.
And how many mounds are those?
Early investigators found 26 mounds at the Dunleith Mounds in Gramercy Park, although today only about 15 of the mounds are easily recognizable and visible to the naked eye.
And what were the traits of the Middle Woodland and
They're known for their larger camps, their plant domestication, of course, their mound construction. They have long-distance trading that they knew that was going on. They had copper from Michigan and Lake Superior. They had seashells from either the Gulf of Mexico or the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Wow.
They had elaborate artwork, and they typically had their villages down on the banks of the Mississippi River.
Okay. So their villages were down by rivers.
Yes. And they would only use this area, the bluff area, to bury their dead.
Oh.
Okay, people are having a little hard time hearing with the background, so I'm going to have Jess step up and ask a question, and then, Rick, you can step up and answer.
Hello. Hope this is better for everybody. Okay. So we were just talking a little bit about the Middle Woodland folks, Indians, who lived here that created these Dunleith mound series. So Rick was just telling us about that the woodland area, the woodland people were constructing these mounds they had typically larger camps, and they traveled a long distance. So they had really elaborate artwork, really cool things were found here, like we were saying, some shells and artifacts that were found that can be traced back to the eastern area, or sometimes even down the Gulf. Oh, and copper from Michigan, yeah. Pretty cool. So the early archaeologists who excavated the mounds, they included the George Peabody Russell as well as Colonel Morris. Can you tell us a few things about their work?
Colonel Morris was the first known excavator to come to Gramercy Park. His first excavation was in 1857. He came a second time in 1882, at which time he was working for the Smithsonian. We do have some information on what he found here, although the detailed notes aren't near as inclusive as what archaeologists today would make. Mr. Russell, George Peabody Russell, who later became associated with the Peabody Museum of American Archaeology at Harvard University, they had documents that he had found, of course, bone, arrowheads, shells, and drilled bear teeth that were made on necklaces of the dead of the Indians.
Wow, I think that's really neat.
We're going to pause here for just a sec.
Okay.
So speak loud.
Okay. Okay, so hope you guys can hear us okay. Just let us know if you can. Go ahead and type it in. That'll help us. So we were just talking about some of the explorers and archaeologists who had kind of discovered some of this history and what their works have looked like. So, Rick, these mounds look pretty huge. Can you tell us the dimensions of these mounds?
The largest mound we have is 70 feet in diameter and about 12 feet high. Not all the mounds are quite that big. Some are only half that size. And not all the mounds are burial mounds, although quite a few of them are. So we have approximately in this section of the park 8 mounds. And then in the north section of the park that is not open to the public yet, we have 7 mounds. And actually on the north part of the park are some of our biggest mounds.
Yeah. And so what can the archaeologists tell us about the mounds that are being used as burial sites?
One mound that was excavated had a burial chamber in it that was about 13 foot by 7 foot rectangle. They had discovered that of the 13 people that were buried in this mound, the Indians had built a chamber or a vault, if you will, with limestone 3 foot high around that 13 by 7 foot area. And the dead were placed in there in a sitting position. One of the dead was a female with an infant. They would place the dead in there and then try to, or they would cremate the remains or burn the remains the best as they could back then. And then they would take 6-inch to 12-inch logs, strip the bark off the logs, and then put those on top of the vault to seal it up. And then, of course, on top of that, they would put the dirt.
Okay, we have a question for people who couldn't hear.
Yes.
Where exactly are we,
Oh.
and how do we get here?
Okay, so today we're at the Gramercy Park in East Dubuque, Illinois. So if you're in the Davis County area, we are right on the river. We're overlooking the river here behind us. We're right on the east side of the bridge that goes across the Mississippi to Dubuque. So Gramercy Park Foundation is a 501c3 that owns and manages this park here that is open to the public. And Rick Loite is the treasurer of the Gramercy Park Foundation, and he's giving us a lot of great information on the history and kind of what they've discovered throughout the years, and just kind of a little bit about what has been found in these mounds and what it tells us about the people who lived here. So if you guys have more questions, feel free to just type them in, and we can answer all of your questions. Okay, so let's see. So we talked a little bit about what the archaeologists can tell us about the burial sites. And now, can you tell us a little bit about intrusive burials?
The archaeologists found that several of the mounds had intrusive burials, which is when after a mound is completed, someone passes, someone dies, and they bring the body to the mound. But of course, it can't be put into the vault area, which has already been sealed up. So they just dig a hole in the side of the mound or the top of the mound. They put the body in that area and then cover it up. And those are known as intrusive burials.
Okay, and I understand that the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, they have undertaken some projects in the park in the 30s. What happened to those CCC buildings that were here?
Unfortunately, the CCC buildings were not well maintained by the city. And after about 20 or 30 years, they fell in disrepair and then eventually were torn down. If any of our viewers are familiar with Eagle Point Park in Dubuque, Iowa, we had buildings similar to what they've done over there, which is a lot of limestone type structures. Same architect, I believe, was used for Eagle Point Park in Dubuque, and probably some of the same CCC work crew members were instrumental in building buildings here at Gramercy Park. So when our current park board, when the park was started to reclaim in 1995, the only structures that were left were a couple of limestone chimneys that were left from the CCC construction area.
Wow, so just a couple of chimneys were left. Wow. So can you tell us a little bit about the formation of the Gramercy Park Foundation 25 years ago?
well, it's very appropriate that we're doing this interview today in July in 2020 because it's been exactly 25 years ago, in 1995, in July, that the Gramercy Park Foundation was formed as a 501c3 to reclaim the park. The East Dubuque Business and Tourism group back then decided that the park was too much of a attraction to let go. It was way overgrown with trees. You couldn't see the river. You couldn't see downtown East Dubuque. So they started back then with a group of volunteers and started to clear the park. We looked for direction from the Illinois State Museum archaeologists for direction on how to be culturally sensitive to the mounds that were here. So it's been a long process, but I think it's been a very good thing for the city of East Dubuque.
Rick, could you tell us when the park was originally founded?
The park was officially founded in 1857. Let me check my notes here. That's right, 1857. So the park is 163 years old. So that's got a lot of years on it. But,
That's pretty cool. I don't know that I've ever been to a park that old. So, can you tell us a little bit about how the park is funded today?
Okay, the East Dubuque City gives the Gramercy Park Foundation the city tax levy for parks. And that's how we pay for the upkeep, maintenance, projects. But we also have fundraisers that we do ourselves. Every year we have a Gramercy Park Gala. Unfortunately, this year that's not going to happen because of the COVID-19. But we also have very generous businessmen and citizens who contribute to the park, are always there to help us with donations.
Great. And so I've heard that the board has developed a master plan for the north end of Gramercy Park of the Dunleith Mounds Group. Could you tell us a little bit about that project?
Okay, the north end of the park is approximately 4 acres. It's not open to the public right now. It was planted as a city park the same time this area was. We have some of our biggest burial mounds on that section of the park. And what we've done recently is contract with archaeologist Phil Millhouse to do a site survey and study there. And we've also talked with MSA Engineering out of Baraboo, Wisconsin to help us develop a plan for developing that. Recently, we approached the city council and got approval for a $2.4 million master plan for that park. What we envision for that side of the park, the north side of the park, is trails, interpretive signs, explaining what's going on, what the people are looking at, but we also want to be very culturally sensitive to the mounds. So we're also looking at a bridge that would span the two parks over a city street. So it's a very aggressive project, but it's a plan, and we hope to continue along that route.
That sounds great. I would love to see that come to fruition in a few years. And what an asset to the community in the area. I think I was walking around here reading some of the interpretive signs, and you can really learn a lot about the history, very local history, right here at Gramercy Park. Very cool. So if anybody has any additional questions, feel free to type them in. Or Rick, if there's anything you'd like to say to wrap up, feel free.
I would like to mention a few things. Over the years, we've had lots of help from Jordan's Conservation. Thank you again for that. We're contracting right now with the Prairie Enthusiasts, specifically Northwest Illinois Prairie Enthusiasts, run by Ed Straczynski. They've been doing a great job. We're trying to establish a prairie on one section of our park. We've had great help from the East Dubuque Lions Club, the Edge Group in East Dubuque, which is East Dubuque Greater Events. They've been very generous to us. We've had lots of help from our Boy Scouts with Eagle projects and community service projects. And another thanks would go out to Dr. Phil Millhouse, who has done a lot of worked with us a lot over the years. So we've had a lot of support.
Yeah.
Feel very grateful for that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of community involvement, it sounds like.
Okay, we do have a question
Okay.
for you, Rick. Are the descendants of the people buried here at the park involved in the restoration at any level?
Yes, we've talked. Right now, we've been in contact with Bill Quackenbush of the Ho-Chunk Nation. We've met with him last fall when we were developing our master plan for the north side of the park. So he was very excited and interested, and thought it would be a good teaching area for the Ho-Chunk people, the Ho-Chunk youth, to bring them down here, show them the site, and explain to them about this area.
Great.
That's awesome.
Okay, if anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. You can always type them in and we can come around later as well to answer your questions.
What are the hours of the park?
The park is open dawn to dusk. Okay, so come on up. If you're looking for the park and you want to put it in your Garmin or your MapQuest, use Beecher Street. Beecher Street in East Dubuque is a short street, 1 block long. You get on Beecher, it's going to take you right to the park. So,
Good advice. Good. Well, great. So I hope you guys come out and visit Gramercy Park. This is a great place, big asset to the community, great place to learn about the cultural significance of this area. Very cool. Okay, thank you guys for joining today. Thanks to our sponsor, the First Community Bank of Galena Apple River State Bank. You guys have been great sponsors to us for all of our educational events. And thank you, Rick Litchie, for joining us and sharing